Okay, I am live. Let's share my screen. Okay, so I'm just gonna work on this today. Let's get that flipped around. All right, so I'm just gonna be working on this. I'll be talking out loud, and it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, I just need to do this. Like, I need to practice trying to be consistent, and I need to practice talking to a camera slash, while I'm being recorded because I'm not good at something that I do want to improve on, something I do want to do. Not that I think that a single soul is going to see this. It, this would be great to have as I don't know, kind of like a record of what I'm doing. So that's what I'm doing. Where is that layer? I gotta find that layer. Anyway, today I watched the SVS Learn video, the 3 point perspective, and Jake Parker mentioned how athletes, or not athletes who work out, say the most important thing, like, is to show up, right? Go to whether or not you get, just show up. And I think that's what I'm going to try and do for this YouTube channel is just to show up. I'm not going to care about recording it, making it, like editing it. That's why I'm doing live streams because I'm like, whatever, it's not going to be perfect. It's probably going to be pretty terrible, but I'm going to do it. Also, today, I had a friend who showed me a video about this guy was talking about how just normal people talking to the camera, like people that don't have any editing skills, they just talk to the camera and, they're getting tons of views. And I thought, well, I can't get any views if I'm not doing video. So why don't I just do live streams and maybe eventually something will come of it. I have a feeling this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, who cares? But you know what? I care. And oh, I also want to talk about my friend Manel. She is pretty awesome. She is so much better at things like editing videos, recording things, and posting to social media. She's been super consistent at it for years. She's done such a good job. And I definitely admire her for it. And today she posted a video and she is talking about art being um, having a positive impact on people. And I agree with that art can be such a positive force for good. Whatever the gift is that you have, if it is art, or if it's music, or if it's talking, or if it's caregiving, like using your gift to impact the world in a positive way is so important. And the kind of art that I do, it's not like it's profound. I mean, look, this is just a fun, animals. It's it really is fun, but I feel like even something like this that would be considered maybe frivolous or mere entertainment, I think can have a positive influence. Like it doesn't have to be the most impressive Michelangelo style Sistine Chapel art, painting on the ceiling type of thing. But like if everyone puts in their 2 drops of honey into the honeycomb, then soon enough you got the world is full of sweet things. It's full of sweet honey because you're adding your sweet, sweet honey from the 2 drops that you gather from the flowers. That's so profound. Um, yeah, so I'm just going to draw. I'm gonna try and blab, and we'll see where this goes. So, I went to school to study art. Look at that. I've got 63 steps left to go this hour. I'm gonna do that really quick while we're live streaming. Just yeah, 63 steps for the hour. Why not? Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. So it doesn't even matter. So here we go. 63 steps. Yeah. Uh, anyway, yeah, I studied art in school. That's what I did. I've always loved art. In fact, I think that this is pretty common for lots of people who do art. It tends to be something that they love and have done for their whole lives. And that's no different for me. Like from the time I was a little kid, I loved doing art, and that's actually what I wanted to do when I grew up is I wanted to be an artist. And I would open up the encyclopedias that we had at home and I would stare at the art that was in the encyclopedias. Like oh shoot, I wish I could remember her name. She's this famous French artist. And like there were these bunnies that was in there that I loved and the way she did horses, I just loved the way that she painted horses and oh man, I wanted to paint like her. And then of course I watched Disney movies and you know, in watching Sleeping Beauty, I was like, "Oh, that's what I want to do. I want to animate. I want to do animation just like Sleeping Beauty." Um and the funny thing is that I didn't even realize. So I kind of knew that animation was a real job, but I never even considered things like children's books. Like I didn't even think about that. I don't know why. I had plenty of children's books in, you know, in my home, at my school. So, so I definitely saw it and I loved looking at the art, but why didn't I think that doing children's book was a job? Anyway, it wasn't until I got to college and my teacher was talking about illustrating children's books, and I was like, "What? That's a real job? People do that?" Like it's it honestly blew my mind. I was like, you know what? I lived during the time that I didn't even know what the word illustration meant. I'd never heard that before. And it wasn't until I got to college my teacher mentioned the word illustration. I was like, what's that? Eh, anyway, so like my kids, of course, have grown up with 2 parents who illustrate for their jobs. And so they obviously know, but even just the kids at school know what illustration is because the teachers will talk about the author and the illustrator when they're reading a book. And so the kids, my my kids' friends all know what illustration is as well. Anyway, like I said, what I want to do is to try to be more consistent with just showing up. And even if all I do is talk to the air and it's myself, I am the only one that ever hears me talk, that's okay. Because maybe one day I'll find myself talking and it actually is coherent. Unlike right now, where I'll just talk because I have nothing else better to do. Because if I was just, why would you just come to this channel to watch me, do slow, uh, slow drama? Because those time lapse videos, those are fascinating. When you watch a time lapse video of somebody doing art, yeah, everyone gets sucked into those. Those are so fascinating. Those are so cool to watch. But having to watch someone do art in real time, you're like, oh, is this actually how long it takes? Jeez. But yes, it does. It actually takes much longer to do it in real life than what a time lapse shows you. And so here's an animal. What's it gonna be? A cat? Yeah, probably a cat. This Christmas, I went to my in-laws, and while we were there, various family members, they were putting together puzzles, and I joined in the fun of putting together some puzzles. And as we were doing it, I was like, dude, I could do a Christmas puzzle. I should do a Christmas puzzle. And so starting while I was there in December, I started with making this design of the kind of Christmas puzzle I want to do. And I'm actually taking my time because I want it to be good. Like, I love puzzle art. Honestly, it's one of those things, like, obviously, not all puzzle art is created equal, but there's so much good puzzle art out there. And it really is just fun putting it together and watching the whole image come together. And so that's what I want to do. And I figure, you know what? I'll just do this, and hopefully at some point there will be an audience that will be like, "Yes, that's the puzzle I want to do for Christmas this year." That's my hope and dream is that you guys out there somewhere, you're going to find this and you'll be like, "Yay, I get to do um the puzzle of this thing I've been watching be created for these months." I hope so anyway. I hope that's actually how it goes. Do do do. So, here's the thing. Like watching the chat. Oh, so far so good. Nobody's here. That's fine. And the funny thing is like imagine there's somebody like they have no interest in art whatsoever, but they're like, dude, I just want to sit here and chat. Maybe there's someone that's just lonely on the internet that's just sitting there, and you and I can chat. It doesn't matter if you have any interest in art whatsoever, but we can just talk. And why not? Why not just talk? Why not have some kind of connection that way? Like, we can talk about whatever we want. Like, one of my favorite topics is talking about God, talking about religion. That would be awesome. I would love having some kind of religious discussions on this channel. Like, honestly, that's like, yeah, I love art or whatever, but I feel like my calling is to bring people closer to God and, through conversation, through art, whatever it is. Like I'm not a religious artist. I don't do religious painting. And I don't think there's nothing religious paintings. There's plenty of religious paintings that I quite enjoy, but um that's not my calling. My calling is not to do religious art, which is fine. Like not yeah, everybody has different paths in life. Everyone has different ways to go. Oh man. So speaking of religion and God, yesterday I watched there's this one YouTube channel, this guy, all he does is talk about people's near death experiences, which are fascinating. And here's the thing, I am a Christian, right? So definitely believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. However, I also believe that, these near death experiences where people see Buddha or, you know, or other deity type of thing, I believe that God works with us in our frame and what we are able and willing to accept or um, can wrap our minds around. And I do think it's silly to fight about God. I think it probably displeases him when we fight over who's right, who's wrong. Like he's less concerned about over who's right and who's wrong, and he's more concerned about how we treat each other and how we live up to what we say. I honestly think that God's way more interested in that than than uh, than who's right. Like God could care less. Like God would have to be pretty egotistic if that's what he cared about. I really don't think that he cares that much about that. He cares way about the way we treat each other and the way we live our lives. And I do think that there are actual commandments, that there are things that will help us, and that in living those commandments, it helps us to be freer and happier by living his commandments. There we go. We got a cat, we got a bear. Okay, we got a badger. Let's do the badger. Now, the badger, I'll probably have to look up some reference. I've done badgers. Okay, in fact, funny story. There's last year I sent out a postcard to um, art directors, and I I had like 3 images of badgers. I was like, you know what? I'm going to send out an email focusing on badgers. And I was like, that's perfect. That's what I'll do. It's like all these American badgers, and they were different ones. Like one was this badger that's like walking through the forest. He's got a wooden stick and he's walking through the forest. One of the images is was a bunch of different kind of burrow animals in the ground, and the badger was prominently featured in that one. Um, one was what was the other badger picture? Let's see. Badgers, get your badgers here. Yeah. badgers dressed up as man, I can't remember what the other badger was, but there was another badger image. So, yeah, wandering adventure or badgers as badgers. Anyway, I crafted the email where where I pretended I was a salesman and I was like, "Badgers, get your badgers here. Come to me for all your badger needs. Like I've got, skinny badgers, fat badgers, whatever." And then so I sent that out. Didn't get any response from it. That's fine. That often happens. You just send out, you know, images. You're not going to hear back. Anyway, so then just over a month later, I was like, "Ooh, I want to do a follow up with that email." So, I wrote this email that I was like, last month I sent out an email where I was focusing on badgers, and I'm afraid that I have misled many of you that you know think that all I can do are these American badgers, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Like I wanted to share with you a sample of other kind of art that I do. I also can draw English badgers, and then you scroll down, and I had an image of an in a top hat and suit. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious, and I did get one response from that where the art director was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Thank you for brightening an otherwise miserable day." Which was that okay, that was sweet right there. Is to get that kind of email. That was awesome. I loved that. Um anyway, like I kind of get why people have not liked talking about God is because people do fight about who's right and who's wrong. Like that has been a thing for that's like human nature. Is we have to be right. Oh man, it is so human nature of wanting to be right, and you have this pride, this ego that the thing that you're talking about is, is the right way. Like and that is idiotic. That's just so dumb that to think that way. And in fact, it is so freeing to finally let is the truth, like of like a feeling that you have to be right. Uh take for instance, I definitely went through a bit of a faith crisis. I mean, I hate the term faith crisis. It's more of a faith wobble. Went through a faith wobble where I question I was questioning everything knew was right. Okay? Things about God, things about and so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which, for some reason people consider that controversial. Anyway, that's fine. The thing is like, I had all these questions, like these doubts about polygamy, about Joseph Smith, and all the stuff. The thing that I never doubted was my love for Jesus Christ. Like that was something that I had early on, and I didn't ever doubt that. So I was just doubting everything about my own faith, about Joseph Smith, and about the early church and things like that. I was, devastated because I definitely have loved being a part of the church and everything. But I prayed to God and I was like, okay, God, I will do anything you need me to do, even if it means leave the church. I was like, which is super hard, you know. I don't want it this like this could be something that could be devastating for my family, but I'm willing to do whatever it is you want me to do, like cuz but the thing is like at that time I felt nothing, like prayer, and I felt nothing. I was like, okay, I guess I just wait. And so that was, I guess the answer to my prayer was wait. And like during this period of, I got to thinking, I was like, okay, well, even if the whole thing was a sham, the thing I can't deny is that my neighbors, the people I go to church with, they are absolute angels. They're saints. They serve each other, they serve our community, and they are just beautiful examples of what it is to be Christian. And I was like, okay, so yeah, that's absolutely true. And the other thing I thought about is like, if there was ever some kind of, you know, cataclysmic disaster, there's no place I'd rather be than right here among these people. Like, I know for sure that we would be helping each other in such an event as that. And okay, this one is mess. And I was like, yeah, so yeah, this is there's no place I'd rather be than among these people. And then I got to thinking about like early church history and about polygamy and all that. And like I was like, here's the thing. Say that like say that Joseph Smith was wrong and he misinterpreted um, these impressions he got about polygamy and he wasn't supposed to do it. Like, sure, that's a possibility. I'm like, but the people that still were willing to do it, like this was not an easy thing for the early church members to do was to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to live this law. Like that was rough. It was something that divided the church. There were those that stayed behind that they were like, yeah, because we can't abide the polygamy thing, and they formed other church groups, things like the Restored Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, that is later became the Community of Christ Church. Uh, anyway, I was like, the the people that followed Brigham Young and walked across the plains, like, man, talk about grit and talk about faith, talk about humility. I'm like, what a legend. And and then even later on when they stopped living polygamy, like I know it was hard for people. There definitely have been people that were like, ah, no, polygamy was the law. That's how it should be. But those that actually listen to obey, like I just look at what's around me, and I didn't. I live here now, and honestly, I really do love it. It's fantastic, and the people here are fantastic. And whether or not they're members of the church, there's so many fantastic people here. It's not to say that there's not in other states because there definitely are. I've been to lots of states, but it is special. There is something special about it, and we serve the way we do put a focus serving God's children. Um, whether that's through humanitarian service or whether it's through through like the helping hand disaster strikes and they go out to help our neighbors. It's amazing. Like honestly, I love being a part of this church and I love the gospel. And and you know what? Even if you've never like if all you've done is heard what either anti-Mormons online say or preachers all that they say. Dang, there are so many voices out there that would that have so many opinions about it, and yet okay, so people who are former members of the church, they actually were part of the church, so maybe uh because they actually were a part of it. But like preachers that are cherry picking the things that they're like, oh geez, like is obnoxious. Like I wish I knew who the exact person who this quote comes from, but it's somebody said, and this is not a member of our church who said this, but somebody once said, the one book strong opinion about but never read it is the Book of Mormon. Like, yeah, everyone has a strong opinion of it who have never even read it. But honestly, I feel like if you would just like take the time to read it, you'd be like, holy cow, this is amazing. Because it is, it's really good. You should you should do it. It's super good. If you like the Bible, you'll love the Book of Mormon. I'm telling you. So there's so many videos out there, voices of, people trying to show off their selves, whatever, which is breaking people's brains because everyone's like, oh, well, I don't have that. That's not my life. The thing is, it's no, like, it's so dumb to think that that is how life should be. Like, these influencers that go traveling the world and it looks like they have the most luxuries or I don't know, like have the most perfect children that dress up matching and have perfectly curated lunches for their kids with beautifully cut fruit pieces. It's, uh, it's dumb. Like, I definitely am not one of those people that have a perfect family. And yet, I would say I am so happy with my life and the family that I do have. Like, man, yeah, I struggle with my teenagers, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, them, making choices that I definitely wouldn't. But I rejoice in them, you know, using agencies, that they do have agency. And I do hope that they'll learn to use their agency to for good, use their powers for good. And I think they will. And I think, you know, as a mom, I just have to be patient and like not force my kid to do things because guess what? You force someone to do something and they'll rebel against you even more. Uh, but yeah, I gotta say, uh, life goes. I've got a pretty good one. Like, here's the other thing is, I really do have privileged life because I've been able to be a stay-at-home mom. Like ever since I had my first child, that was 17, almost 17 years ago, coming up on 17 years. Like my husband, we've been fortunate enough that my husband has been able to provide for our family. Like we definitely, and I think this has been good for us, where we um, curb our spending. We're very conscientious of how we curb our how we spend our money. But um, I think that's been good for us. And we've still been able to do things like going and visiting my in-laws in Florida, doing fun vacation, going on road trips with other family members and things. Like it, it is amazing. And we have talked to our children and we want them to realize just how privileged we are and how blessed. Of course, now we're getting to a point where we have teenage drivers. Insurance is so dang expensive, holy cow, for for teenage drivers, and that makes sense. It makes sense why it's so expensive, but it is so dang expensive. Anyway, so we're thinking now might be the time where I actually do have to go get a job, which saddens me. Like, I just want to sit here and work on this. I'm like, oh, can't this puzzle bring in enough money that a part-time job would do? That would be great. But I don't have a big enough audience right now to justify it. Like, here's the other thing is I know nothing about printing puzzles. And so I'll just do this. Make a puzzle and figure out the printing part a little bit later. Do 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 da 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 la da 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 do 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 do. By the way, it is so fun to live at this time in the world. Like, yeah, there's so much going on. Like, oh, it can feel like the end of the world. But here's the deal. Like, for those people that have faith in Jesus Christ, this time of the world is not something to dread. It is a time of rejoicing, pretty much, where we're like, oh, we're feeling it. We're feeling those birth pains of the second coming. And guess what? We Christians absolutely in this that the second coming is coming, that Jesus Christ will come again. And that is so like it makes life so enjoyable. Uh, Believing in God, like, puts so many things in perspective. It helps you to not be so selfish, not be so greedy, to reach out to help others, to realize it's not about you. It's not just about you all the time, that it's like, yeah, how do I make life better for people around me? Like, it's not how I can greedily satisfy all my whims, but it's about how can we help each other? And like, hopefully through my art, maybe that's a way of helping others. We'll see. I feel like it could be. So, do you ever uh, put Christmas put puzzles together? Doesn't matter. Tell me about your favorite kinds of puzzles. So, in by the way, in putting puzzles together, like, I've done it throughout my life. But it's never been like a straight up hobby for me. But I do enjoy putting puzzles together. But like, did a puzzle, and I I was like, oh, this is the exact kind of puzzle that my sister in law would hate, because it was basically the same color, like the same three colors throughout the whole thing. So, yeah, it was kind of hard. There was I f I don't know, during when I put puzzles together, there are times where I'm like, "Oh, yes, I can see this, portion coming together." But I felt like the last one I did was like a slog the whole time, because I was like, "Ah, where does this go? Where I don't know how to piece it together." Anyway, but I'm trying to make this so that there's enough interest throughout the whole thing where people will be able to, it'll be like a medium, like super hard. I want it to be a 1,000-piece puzzle. We'll see how. Maybe what I'll do is, can be a puzzle. I can get uh, a greeting card. We'll see. I don't know. This is an experiment. An experiment. A puzzle experiment. Just work on this puzzle with me. I that's one thing I haven't even audience look that up. I ought to. Maybe there are people. There's because there's an audience for everything. Like, seriously. Okay, so maybe from here on out, I've got to do things like hashtag puzzle making, like art, puzzle art, or whatever. That's what I need to do, and I will. But guess what? I think I'm done with this live stream. I don't need to keep going, because nobody's watching it, which is fine. Someone may watch it eventually sometime, but not today, and that's okay. So, this is ending this live stream. Peace out, everybody. God be with you till we meet again, and